Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now it's Friday morning. We've got a lot of NBA basketball to talk about and some NBL basketball to talk about. So we're going to bring together some of the greatest basketball minds in the country. We've got old mate Parky joining us a little bit later. But first, we welcome old mate BK.
What's good, my brother? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, my man. Everything is good. I'm enjoying these NBA playoffs. We've got a bumper NBL Grand Final series to look forward to, BK. We're going to start off with some news about Chris Paul, though, because I know you watched this yesterday. We were texting each other during the game. Chris Paul went absolutely atomic yesterday in the fourth quarter against the Dallas Mavericks. Suns take a 2-zip lead over the Mavericks, heading back to Dallas. BK, Jesus Christ, what a fourth quarter that was. You know, Luka Doncic hits a three. The Mavs are within 6. It was 99-93 with about, I think, just over 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And from that point on, man, Chris Paul and Devin Booker as well just absolutely carved up the Dallas Mavericks. I think it was a 23-2 run. Absolutely tore them apart. Chris Paul scored or assisted in Phoenix's first 19 points of the final term. He finishes with 28 points, 11-16 from the field, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. BK, what did you make of that performance yesterday?
Man, there was just nothing the Mavericks could do with Chris Paul. Like, they were looking for Luka Doncic. They were just bullying them down the stretch in that fourth quarter. The pick and roll actions that Chris Paul was running, like, he is just a master of that part of the game. And you can just see how easy he makes it for the rest of his teammates when he's out there cooking like that. And look, Dallas, they were a good defensive team during the regular season, but when you kind of get in that half-court situation with Chris Paul just surgically picking them apart, they really just couldn't do much with him.
Yeah, you said it perfectly there. He was surgically picking them apart, BK. And you've heard me say this on the show throughout the season. He's 36, 37 years old. I just feel like he's still only now just sort of, maybe that's the wrong way to put it, but I feel like he's only just now getting his props as to like how good he really is. Like, I mean, we've known he's been good, but like he is super, super, super good. You know, he's had some atrocious luck in the playoffs with obviously injuries and just sort of some of the teams that he's been on. But he makes your team better. And at age 36 or 37, he's still the best player on the floor.
And that's on a team with Devin Booker and Luka Doncic. The playoffs is different. It's not the regular season. And you see the way that he just controls the tempo of the game, controls basically everything on the floor. I mean, this guy's 36 years old, but he looks as good as he's ever been. And I put him in the same category as Dirk. It's just the ring that's holding him back. He wins one ring. We're talking about Chris Paul as the top 2 3-point guards of all time because his resume is there. It's just missing that championship. So in terms of everything he's done in his career, he's done it. It's just that title that's going to change the conversation around where we kind of rate Chris Paul in the point guard lexicon.
You know, BK, I look at last season's NBA Finals run that the Suns had, right? And we were kind of looking at it at the time and thinking, all right, this is Chris Paul's best shot of winning a championship, right? Obviously, they had a 2-zip lead. Giannis went atomic and ends up, they end up winning the championship 4-2, right? I look at this Phoenix Suns team, like last year seemed like a bit of a perfect storm run for them all the way to the NBA Finals. But this year, they're the best team in the league on both ends of the floor for me, like the most complete team in the league. Is this Chris Paul's final shot at a ring?
I'm not ready to say final shot because everyone else on this team is getting better. So even if they come back next season, Devin Booker has not even hit his prime yet, which is crazy. You've got guys like Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. These guys are all improving with each season. So the longer this goes, the less Chris Paul will almost have to do because these guys are getting so much better. Will they be able to retain everybody is a different story. But, I mean, I think this is probably his best shot, just given how open things are in the league and just how good the Suns are. I mean, I'm not saying this is now or never for Chris Paul, but this is his shot. You could argue it was last season, but nobody saw what Giannis had coming for them. But I really like the Suns in terms of who's playing the best, who's got all their guys healthy. Like they really look like they're about their business.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And just to mention, you mentioned like, will they be able to keep their guys? Obviously, DeAndre Ayton is out of contract. They've been unwilling to pay him so far. They didn't give him that extension. He's going to want big bucks, so it's going to be interesting to see if they actually pay up and keep that core together. We weren't the only ones in awe of Chris Paul. Obviously, a number of NBA guys, with LeBron James was tweeting out, CP3 and all that sort of stuff. But there was an interesting tweet from CJ McCollum that a lot of people did chuckle at. So he said, "Damn, this Suns team is really good. Don't feel as bad watching CP and them cook someone else." Obviously, the Pelicans were cooked. I don't even know if they were cooked, but they were defeated by the Phoenix Suns in the first round. So that was a funny little tweet there from CJ McCollum. All right, moving on, BK, to another Western Conference team that's considered a championship contender, or at least a Western Conference Finals opponent for the Suns, and that's the Golden State Warriors. Now, they're going to have a bit of an injury concern. Gary Payton II is out with a fractured elbow. He's going to be out for about 3 to 5 weeks. He left game 2 of the Warriors' second round matchup with the Grizzlies after suffering the elbow injury. We're going to show the clip on the screen right now, BK. For me, that was a dirty, dirty play by Dylan Brooks, who was actually suspended this morning for 1 game by the NBA. He was called for a flagrant 2 on this and ejected. GP2 stayed in the game, shot his free throws, but then exited the game. And then, like we said, was diagnosed with a fractured elbow and out for 3 to 5 weeks. BK, how significant is this?
Well, it's significant for him, but significant for the Golden State Warriors, because what we saw in that game too was they really struggled to stay in front of Ja Morant and the athletes the Memphis Grizzlies have on that team. Klay Thompson isn't the same on-ball defender Klay Thompson that we've seen in the past couple of seasons. Andre Iguodala is hoping that he can come back for game 3. So they don't really have a ton of options of guys that they can throw at Ja Morant outside of Steph Curry. We're going to see Kuminga come in and play some spot minutes. Jordan Poole, he's not really going to hang with Ja Morant like that. So it is a huge blow, because Peyton was that nice little X factor they had defensively, because the Memphis Grizzlies between Brooks, between Ja Morant, they've just got so many athletic guys in that backcourt. Tyus Jones as well. It's going to be tough for the Warriors to kind of contain that tidal wave that's coming at them.
Yeah, you mentioned like GP2 is averaging, I think, 7.1 points, 3.5 rebounds throughout the regular season. But like you mentioned, it's that spark that he brings off the bench. And he's had some games during the regular season where offensively, he really shined. But like you mentioned, it's that versatility defensively. And I look at the Warriors, BK, tell me if I'm crazy, when I say this, but I'm not saying they don't have nice players on their bench, but I just don't think that the squad depth is there that the Suns have, right? So when they do eventually meet up, because I still think the Warriors beat the Grizzlies, I just don't think that the Warriors have the squad depth to hang with the Suns.
Yeah, they're kind of at a different stage of generations. They're really old, experienced guys, and they've got super duper young guys that maybe aren't quite ready for the moment. They've got some great young players. I really like Kuminga. I really like Jordan Poole. He's shown that he can hoop at this level. But the way that the Suns are kind of all on the same page, the Warriors aren't quite there in terms of their roster. I still like the Warriors just because the core that they have, is enough. But once you sort of get into that bench, guys start dropping and have to move up in the rotation, things can get a little bit thin. They may be asking a lot from some of these young guys that, I don't know. Are you ready? Can you come in and contribute?
Yeah, you say you've still got faith in the Warriors. The market says they've got faith in the Warriors. The money's there for the Warriors, BK, but I don't know, man. I'm just not seeing it. I really do think that they're not as good as Phoenix. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if Memphis won this series, but I still think Golden State comes out. But yeah, I don't see it, man. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and fingers crossed for Gary Payton, the Warriors look after him with that contract, because he's up in this summer. He's been on, I think, 5 teams in 6 seasons. He started on a 10-day with this team, worked his way into the rotation, and now became a pretty pivotal part of a very, very good playoff team. So fingers crossed they can give him the bag there and look after him and bring him back.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He's really earned it this year. All right, BK, let's talk a little bit about Aussie news. And our own Ben Simmons had back surgery this morning, Australian time. He posted on his Instagram a little bit earlier that the surgery was successful to fix a herniated disc in his back. The team announced it yesterday via a tweet that they put up, and we've got it right here. So the expected recovery time is supposed to be 3 to 4 months. So the Nets say he'll be ready for training camp in September. So BK, I guess this is for all those idiots that were saying that he was too scared to play in the playoffs, and he's all this and that. The bloke really was injured. He definitely was not faking anything at all. BK, what are you making of all this?
Yeah, I think a lot of the confusion just comes from the mixed messaging that was coming out of the Nets organization. It was, he's going to try playing game 3. He's nearly ready for game 4, and now he's having back surgery. Like, this guy was not playing. Like, it seemed, almost disingenuous to suggest that he could come back and play. And backs are a tricky one. Some days, you can feel great. Some days, you can't go. And it's one of those injuries that you want to get right because you don't want it to be a recurring thing. So getting surgery for him, that kind of gives them a clean slate for next season. And look, the Nets season was up in the air to begin with. Kyrie wasn't playing. KD was hurt for stretches. Like, Simmons wasn't going to come in and be this savior for them. So I think now it kind of gives them a fresh start. He gets to go into training camp, gets the time to integrate with the rest of his teammates, and they can, kind of build a system around those 3 guys. And most importantly, he'll be healthy and ready to rock.
Yeah, BK, how many times have we said it on this show? I just felt that the Nets should have said, look, I'm not saying Simmons is completely blameless, but I feel like the Nets should have said from maybe towards the end of the regular season, whenever it was, like, look, this guy's not coming back. We're shutting him down. But it kept getting leaked out there that he's preparing for game 3, he's preparing for this and that. And it just adds more pressure onto him. And like I said, that was not an ideal situation to bring this guy back into. He hasn't played basketball for about a year. By the time the next season comes around, it's going to be close to 18 months since he last played a NBA basketball game. He's going to have to spend pretty much another summer now not working on his game. And I'm not saying that to like make fun of him or anything like that, but it's going to be a lost summer because he's pretty much going to start around training camp, I guess. How's that going to affect him, BK, going into next season?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Although I think with this Nets team, I think what they'll want him to do are the things we already know he's amazing at. He's an all NBA level defender. He's one of the best playmakers, not just for his size, just in general. And I think around this Nets team, when they have all these shooters, you have KD and Kyrie, they're going to want him to be a playmaker. This was the number 1 isolation team. Their offense didn't have a ton of variety to it, and their defense was among the worst in the league this season. So those are 2 things that Simmons can come in, contribute right away. We already know what he can do in those aspects of the game. So for him personally, you obviously want to spend those summers working on your game and not being on a treatment table and doing rehab and those kinds of things. But for this fit on this Nets team, I actually don't think it's that big a deal because I think what he'll be asked to do is the things we already know he's great at.
Yeah, and the Nets, look, shout out to them on their part. They've said they're committed to doing whatever it takes to sort of get him right physically and mentally. Obviously, he's said that he's been having some, mental health issues as well. So they're committed to getting him right, on both sides there, mentally and physically. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, BK, we're going to let you go. Busy weekend for you, man. A lot of NBA hoops to be watching, so enjoy all that.
Always a pleasure, my brother.
All right, man, we'll catch you on Monday morning. Now we're going to bring on old mate Andrew Parkinson. We're going to take a look at all of no NBA games today, but we're going to take a look at tomorrow's NBA games, and we're going to have a bumper preview for the NBL. Parky, how are you, mate?
I'm doing well, thanks, Nick. And Wednesday we gave a couple of winners, which was nice. We went 2-1 in our picks. We missed out on the Golden State Warriors. Of course, Ja Morant had to have a 47-point game to beat us on that pick. But we got the over in the Philly at Miami series in that game 2. We got that one easy, and we also got the Suns in their game 2. So we're 2-1. So we're 17-8 currently in our NBA picking. So we're doing well, but I feel a bit lost today without any games. But we've got a couple of good ones, good game 3s on Saturday.
Yeah, we do. We're going to take a look at those right now, Parky, and then we're going to jump into the NBL Grand Final Series because that's going to be a pretty good series. So let's start off with the NBA games that we're going to look at tomorrow. We've got the Miami Heat and Philadelphia 76ers. Heat $1.68, 76ers at home now, back in Philadelphia, 222. The line's at 3, total is at 210. That one's going to be live on ESPN tomorrow. Parky, does Philadelphia even win a game this series? They're saying that Embiid might be back for game 3. Masked Embiid, I would imagine. But do they win a game this series?
If Embiid doesn't play, I don't think they do. And the way it's looking, and I think the odds show us here in this game that he's not playing. That's what it tells me, because yesterday the Sixers were actually favoured. You could get the Sixers, you could get the Heat getting a point, whereas now the Heat are -3. So I think the way the bookies are leaning, I think they're expecting Embiid not to play in this game tomorrow, Australian time. So we'll wait to see the news, because the punters out there, if Embiid all of a sudden does play in this game, I think those odds will switch, and my tip will switch, because currently I think I'm liking the Heat -3 in this game 3 at Philly. I know they didn't shoot very well in game 2, but I think the series is going to keep going that way. So I'm taking the Heat in this one, assuming Embiid's out. But if he's in, I would change my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you, Parky. I think if Embiid plays, that sort of, bump in confidence of him actually being there, being back at home for game 3, I think the 76ers will probably win that. No Embiid, though. It's, Miami for me. And then, like you said, I think it's going to be a clean sweep.
Yeah, it will. And look, the under-over in this game's at 210. And I think if we look at the first 2 games, one game went under 198 and the other game went over 222. So the average in the first 2 games is 210, which is right where the over-under total is. So we're going to stay away from that one. And we'll just go with the Heat -3.
All right, done. Let's take a look at the other NBA game in action tomorrow. Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks. We spoke about CP3 going absolutely atomic the other day, and the Suns are going to be favourites heading into Dallas for game 3. $1.90. Dallas Mavericks $1.93. The line's at 1. Total is at 220. Also live on ESPN. Parky, what are you seeing from this one?
Well, I think the Suns have worked out the way to play the Mavs. At different times in these first 2 games, the Mavericks have actually looked pretty good. But as you and BK discussed earlier in the show, the way Chris Paul is performing, and it sort of takes the game by the scruff of the neck and just takes it over. I can see that happening, even though the game switches now, game 3, it switches to Dallas. We're getting a bit of a better price for the Suns. So the $1.90 for the Suns, I think, is really good value in that game. As far as the under-over goes, I'd probably lean towards the over 220, because we've averaged 236.5 points in the first 2 games. So I'd lean towards the over there, but I think the pick in this game is the Suns just to win at the $1.90.
I think the Mavs get one at home. I just don't know if it's going to be game 3 or 4. They're going to rely, Luka had a huge game the other day as well, and they still couldn't get the job done. They got blown out, in that 4th quarter. So I don't know. I just think they're going to have to have Luka go for big numbers to be competitive in this series. Look, gun to my head, I'm going to go Suns tomorrow. I think they're going to make it 3-zip.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I think, but as you said, I think they could sneak game 4 perhaps. Well, they're going to have to, otherwise it's going to be a sweep. So we'll wait and see how that shakes out. But I think the Suns have, I think they've worked out, how to play these Mavs, because the Mavs play pretty decent defense. So it's, but I think the Suns have worked them out.
Yeah, all right. We're going to have to see how that one plays out. All right, Parky, let's get into this NBL Grand Final Series, right? Because this is going to be a good one. Sydney versus Tasmania. As you remember last week, I picked Sydney to win this whole thing, man. I'm liking the Kings, and they're favourites for Game 1 tonight. They're $1.25. The Jack Jumpers, $3.90. The line's at 8. Total's at 164. Live on ESPN tonight from about 7:30. Parky, I told you, I think the Kings are winning this. What are you seeing from this series?
Yeah, well, I think, you had the Kings. We had a little fun gentleman's bet with each other that I had United in the grand final series, assuming they were going to win game 3, and they didn't. So, your Kings are definitely looking good. They've got the home court advantage now. Of course, if they played United in this series, they'd only have possibly two games at home out of the 5-game series. But no, the Kings have got the home court, and in this game one, I think at home, are going to stay away from the spread there. The Kings, I think are going to win it. And win this game at home. But 8 points is a lot of points to cover. Where I'm looking for value, and what I like, Nick, is the under 164. In the last series with United, the average points scored was 145.7. So they really played the good defense. They held United over that 3-game series to an average of 73 points. So I think if they can hold the Kings to even 85 in this game tonight, I think that that points total will go under the 164.
Yeah, and I also think, Phil, with the under as well, Parky, and obviously you've played in grand finals yourself. I feel like the game one of a grand final is like both teams are still sort of trying to feel each other out. So it's not going to be a run and gun type of thing. So I reckon the score's going to be a little bit lower tonight.
Yeah, no, you're right there. I think it will tighten up. And look, the Jack Jumpers are just a great defensive team. And they also, with their offense, are a bit of a half-court team where they do shoot late in the shot clock. So that's great for all the underbettors out there. Whereas the Kings are a bit more flow. So I think the key in this one, to get this under, if the Jack Jumpers play any sort of transition defense tonight, I think that total definitely goes under the 164.
All right, let's take a look at the championship odds, and then we're going to have a look at the scores odds as well. So we've got Sydney Kings for the championship, $1.20 here. Jack Jumpers $4, which seems about right, Parky.
Yeah, it does. Well, having the Kings at $1.20 to win the championship from here, I think this time last week, when it was expected that United were going to go in there and the Kings were already in the grand final, they were $1.95. So if you got on them a week ago, you're looking pretty good, because $1.20, there's not much value there for the Kings fans. I think what we want to look at is the series correct score. I think that's where we can find some value here. If you have a look at it, the Kings to sweep at 250. That's possible. But I think what I really like, and I think you do too, Nick, is the Kings to win in 4, which is the Kings to win 3-1 at $3.20. I think that's nice and juicy. I don't think it's going 5 for the 450. And the other options there, the Jack Jumpers. If you think the Jack Jumpers are going to sweep, it's $21. I think that should be a little bit more than that. No offense to the Jack Jumper fans out there, because you've done amazingly well. But I think if you want some value in this series for the series betting, I think the Kings at $3.20 to win in 4 games is very good value.
Yeah, I'm with you, Parky. I've underestimated the Jack Jumpers all season long, and I don't think that they're going to win the championship. I do agree with that. $21 should probably be a little bit higher. I don't think they're going to win the championship, but I do see them getting a game, especially once they get back down to Tassie. I think that crowd's going to be raucous. They're going to be pumped up. Like I said, I've underestimated them all season long, so I definitely think they get at least one game, or one game anyway.
Yeah, and they played 3 times during the regular season, and the Jack Jumpers, they got them once. I think it was 77-70, a very low-scoring game, perfect game for the Jack Jumpers. So they have beaten the Kings in the regular season. The other 2 games, of course, went the Kings' way, and those scores as well, were sort of on the low side. So, although I do have to add that the games that they met in the regular season, both teams weren't at full strength at different times. So it's hard to get a read on that. But you can see that the Jack Jumpers can win the big games against the big teams. So I think they can grab a game in this series, but I think it's going to be all Kings.
Yeah, and we both agree that the Kings are winning tonight, right?
Yes. Now, I think the Kings will win. I'm just a little bit shaky on covering that 8-point spread. Look, they could win by 10 or 12 in this one. But no, the bet for me tonight in the game is the under 164.
All right, there you go. Parky has spoken. All right, Parky, we're going to let you go as well. We're going to see you again on Monday morning. Enjoy the weekend of hoops, my man.
Yep, same to you, Nick. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, this has been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys Monday morning.